All right, y'all. What's going on? What's going on? Let me get this thing together. We are live as usual. Back here with our Sunday live. Thanks for all the subscribers. Make sure if you're new here, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We're back at it here. It's been a week. We're in that time of year with football, and we actually have one thing that I pointed out. We actually have a political season coming up this season, and how that's gonna be an interesting thing. A combination of all of that stuff taking place during the fall, amongst other things. So we will hope everything go well because we've been looking forward to this season, and it's gonna be a lot going on. Hope it's not too many distractions. I hope it not be nothing to just disrupt like we've seen some years back, as far as the season go in the world itself. We hope and pray. But as we move forward, what's going on? We prepare for this season and what's going on, and for seasons to come. We got our favorite people here. We're always here supporting. Um, like I said, it was my hope to go to one of these games this year. It was my hope to go to at least one home game, and what's going on, and hopes of seeing the environment and catching this legendary year. I also want to catch one of the away games that's closer, like the UCF. I know a lot of people was talking about that, being on the East Coast to possibly catch. Anybody plan on going to any games this year? Anybody in the comments? What game you all planning on going to? All goes well, no mess, and no shutdowns or whatever. You see we had a little cyber and this weird stuff. Um, Somebody say, who's this here? Baylor, which is what is Baylor the first home game? I know it's like homecoming. I know they moved it to homecoming. Baylor, which is gonna be an early homecoming, and UCF. Um, I guess y'all keep an eye out for UCF. I know a lot of people going to UCF. I potentially may have a sponsor soon that's planning to host the tailgate at the UCF game. If that's in the works. A sponsor who wants to host a UCF game tailgate. So I will keep y'all up to date on that. And am I going to tailgate? Tailgate where? Uh, I'm not tailgating. I said, now as far as UCF, a sponsor wants to host the tailgate. So then they're going to handle all the tailgate and stuff like that. But I'll keep y'all abreast about that if that goes down. As far as tailgates over in Colorado, we'll see. I mean, maybe I know people are already doing stuff out there. If it's a game that a lot of people going to and they have some, I'll let you know that too. If it's somebody out there who's going to be tailgating and hosting at a time that I will be out there, other people out there. Like I said, I'm looking at possibly going to the Kansas State. That's my best window of time to go, which is October. And like I said, a lot be going on, but early or mid October would be the best window to go to a game out there. And I feel like the weather should still be decent. I know it can get colder as it gets later. And I know like Utah's played there later. I know some people going to that. And I said, man, that weather. I remember what game was it? Was it UCLA, Washington State? It was one of those games that it was an away game, and they basically it snowed. I'm thinking UCLA. It was snowing in Boulder. I'm like, good thing they didn't play in Boulder that week. They went away, and it snowed in Boulder, but wherever they went, it didn't snow. I'm thinking it was UCLA. So I know it can get in November, maybe even late October. I know the weather can be, you know, different out there. So October probably the best time. It says, I received a notification on your live in 3 weeks. Ain't that interesting? It's good old YouTube. They do that with everybody. I don't know how, if and where. Maybe got too many people on YouTube. I don't know. It depends on how this thing grow. Maybe you can put stuff in place like those You got really, really big groups, you can send out like those community app reminders where they get the text. And even still, people got to be by their phone or whatever, but you can get the text notification when they go live, and you won't totally depend on YouTube. I don't think we're anywhere near that point. I don't know when, how, what it would take to get there, but that's what a lot of people been doing. They bigger groups, they send out text notification. Usually those marketing groups. I'm about to go live. Boom, they get the text. And I think those are good too because it give you uh, instant interaction with your followers. So like when they have events and stuff like that, they're able to kind of not totally depend on this. But that I feel like I wouldn't do nothing like that till I got like 10,000 plus followers, like for whatever reason. Um, on the games. Yeah, yeah. I look forward to it. I look forward everywhere you go when you travel, you don't really you have imagination in your head. Like when I first went to California, I'm like, one, it's colder than what I thought. I thought it was just warm, and two, it was a lot more mountains. They had the beach further out, but it was a lot in my mind. For what I thought my whole life up to my college years, I thought that LA was more like flat beach water. Kind of, I don't know, maybe I was thinking like Florida, but when I went there, it was a lot of mountains. I was like, this is not quite, and it was cold. I went like April, something like that, March, April, and it was cold. I was like, this is not what I thought. And the same thing, I went to Chicago. I went to Chicago a few years ago, and I had this gloomy city looking concept of what Chicago. I was thinking more like what people say about New York, and I ain't been there either. But I just thought it was just gonna be gloomy. Man, I went to Chicago. It was like a work of art. Man, it was like bright and sunny. The buildings and the landscape was just like it was nothing like what it was led for me to believe or what however I was programmed to believe. It was really, really nice. Chicago was really, really clean, really, really nice. A lot of walking, a lot of scenery. It was nothing like I ever imagined or heard. So I realized I like to go to a place and actually see how much of my imagination is accurate. Because in Chicago, that really changed me. I was like, wow, this is really nice. I would go back. Really, really nice. And Chicago dangerous like that. That it's like it's fenced off. It's like that's way down on the other side. It wasn't in the city. It was a lot of walking. I didn't even see a lot of homeless. It was just very nice in the city. I was in the downtown. So South Chicago, that may be something, but they did a good job. It ain't in the city, and I walked for miles and miles and had no issue. So hopefully Boulder is the same. Good surprise. What you say about it? Yeah, we gonna see. We got a lot to say. You said our city. What's your city? Good day. Good day, Selma. Um, our city is that Chicago? I'm not sure. Yeah, Chicago's big too. I mean, but it's like long. It's like down, and it's a waterfront. I never really paid attention to Chicago really being on the water like that. You just don't think about it. Like Detroit is on the water, but it seemed like me like Chicago's bigger, and it just go. It's almost like you can walk from Chicago into Milwaukee. Like it seemed like everything is walkable. See, I'm in Atlanta. Everything is cut off. You kind of corner in, like our downtown circled in by major highways. You got 20 going across 75, 85, and just cut up the city. So Atlanta seems small. It's divided. You got Midtown, Uptown, Buckhead, and you just got all these different divided parts of the city. So you can't really walk. You can walk like downtown, underground area like that, where a lot of stuff at, but like it's just cut up. Where the stadium and it's just everything is cut up in Georgia. So I found Chicago was just one smooth activity after activity. You didn't have to cross no major street. You just walk the sidewalk for miles into different parts and different blocks. I like that. I was like, you can't really jump in no cab or nothing like that. I mean, you just going a couple blocks up. I mean, it's not like Atlanta. You got to get on the highway and go up. It was good. She said, yeah, Chicago. Yeah, Chicago is really nice. That's my commercial for Chicago. Baylor's the second home game. What is the first home game? Is Cincinnati the first home game? It's one of them. What's going on? So, with that being said, yeah, I'm thinking about going out to Kansas State. It could be a big game. It could be a game with Colorado's 5-6-0 at that point, and they're going against Dylan Edwards, and Colorado might be the real deal. Let's see what they do against Kansas State, because you don't beat UCF at that point, they'll still be in denial. They say, well, UCF just got here. UCF, still got some whatever they're going through. Let's see, can you take on a real Big 10, a Big 12 rival in Kansas State? And, because they feel, oh, you beat all the games, but you can't win your conference games. And it don't matter if you don't win your conference game. And so once you deal with Kansas State, you in the money. I think by that time, college, you undefeated at that point, and Shadua playing good. I'm thinking they back fighting to get that game, college game day, big noon. I'm thinking they fighting at that point. Colorado rocking at that point. So that might be a good place to be. I think that'd be a good place to be. But when you look at the title and you talk about Colorado, the rise of Colorado, a lot of people don't see somebody got it going on. What side of town you on? You at North Dakota, you at Kansas State and Oklahoma State. I already got them locked in. What do you mean? You got tickets and flights? So what do you mean you got them locked in? Yeah, North Dakota Technicals. I guess I looked over North Dakota. That's the first home game. I did. Excuse me. Sorry, North Dakota. I looked over you for the first home game. But I was first home game after North Dakota. Yeah. Baylor, and then Baylor's going to be a homecoming. So, like I said, that'd be an early homecoming, like fourth game or something like that. So, I haven't got mine locked in. I'm looking to lock in today. Now I'm waiting on some stuff. Some things have changed around for me. Who going with me? Who not going with me? How it's going to look. I've been trying to communicate with the athletics department to see what they're going to do about that. Do I need to get a ticket? Do I not? So I've been communicating that since like April, whatever, May. So I'm looking for, am I even going to need to get a ticket? That kind of stuff. Now, Central Florida, UCF, that's a different thing. I gotta see what I'm gonna do real soon, within the next week. And some other people may want to come down there, stuff like that. So we might have a whole crew come down there on that. Versus it's gonna be a little different going out there. Tickets, flight, and hotel. You the man. Only thing you missing is the tailgate. Yeah, that's gonna be a good. Oklahoma State gonna be a good one too. Forgot that was a home game. That's like the last game, Oklahoma game. Well, the weather gonna be different. The weather's gonna be different out there in what's that? November. Man, you're gonna need some hoodies and some scarves or something. They were hitting the miss last year. Like I said, last year, one of them games, they had to play at home, but that snow covered everything. They was out of town by the time they got back. That snow covered everything. It wasn't even like the spring game. Snow, real snow. I said, and some people said that'll be a good experience. Maybe. They say it don't be that cold. That would be, you doing right, it'd be an experience. You better wear a snowsuit. I have never watched a game in snow. So you're right, that would be an experience. And wouldn't it be a miracle if I get out there twice? I don't know what it would take. I just know I'm looking at this one. But a lot of people started to like put it together. Maybe not as like the general public, but you really pay attention to how Colorado team is built. Who did that say they got it? Somebody else said they got some tickets to the last game. Oh, for the Baylor game. Okay. Yeah, some of the games you got to be. You can't wait till the season start to try to figure this stuff out. Especially once they start playing, everybody going to be trying to get tickets. So, but Colorado's a young team. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. Colorado is a young team. Like, it is not the Colorado last year where you had a lot of seniors and grad transfer to fill a roster, because that's what you had to do. That was what was left. The young guys still trying to figure their way out. A lot of our guys have college experience, whether they played or whether it was college experience, where they coming in as true freshmen, things like that. A lot of our key players are young. I know McNeil has at least one more year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what the COVID stuff, maybe a couple more years. He's going to be a leader up front. It used to being cold. Yeah, Colorado be hot. I mean, Chicago be hot too. It'd be cold, windy, hot. It'd be all of it. But Matt Neal is going to break out this year. Mark my word, Matt Neal's going to have a breakout year. They playing with his name, with the little speed. And, they kind of look over all the guys who came back from Colorado last year because of the season, but he really started to break out at the end of last year. It helped out the defense tremendously because really Jordan Dominic was the only one that was really putting that pressure on consistently. And then Matt Neal kind of kicked in, and they made a difference. Um, a lot of people not seeing him as a returning guy who can make it. They looking at everybody else coming in, but Matt Neal is one of those guys who is going to have a breakout year. Y'all got that in y'all notepad? Matt Neal. A couple snow games in my life. Even that snow spring game. But it really wasn't cold. Yeah, it shouldn't be. From what they say, the altitude and all of that. It'd be a good experience. But when you look at, okay, Matt Neal is coming back another year. You have Wiggins, young guy, who got a few years. I'm not sure about Will Walker, but I know you had the McCoys who come back from last year, the Arden Walker who come back from last year. Those guys really came on strong off the edge as young guys towards the end of last year. A lot of people looking over all these returning Colorado guys, but when you even look at who they're bringing in, Barnes is still young, Wiggins is still young. I think Carter might be a senior, um, as well as BJ Green and even Hayes. But everybody else, younger guys. Okanola, young guy. Um, I don't know what Buell is, but they got a lot of young guys who are going to be returned. Of course, they're going to fill in with some more guys. We got Darius Swain, young guy, who came in, who was from the Michigan, the Detroit area, and he was that guy. He's young, but he's going to be a future guy on that D line as well, right? So we got some young pieces there. When you look at the linebacker core, we brought in a lot of young linebackers. I think it was I want to say Lopez. I want to say Garcia. I'm getting confused now. Garcia or Lopez. Is Lopez the corner? Or I got it confused now. I think Garcia is the linebacker. We brought in Hood at linebacker. We brought in Goldberg. These are young guys who are going to have a chance to develop in that linebacker core. And then you brought in Wester, who's a younger guy who actually maybe got a couple years left, maybe, but he's a younger guy who's coming back. And we got that Montrez Walker guy from over here from Georgia, a solid young linebacker who's coming in. Absolutely get those lights up, right? So these young guys, you talk about building a program, tough guys. They're going to be coming back for the next 2-3 years for people who think this is the same old Colorado. And so when you consider all of that secondary, right, yeah, Lopez is the DB, Garcia is the linebacker, and athletic linebacker at that. He spent some time with Hill Green, who's going to be leaving out, and Chainsaw. I don't know if he got another year or not. I know he's a senior, but I don't know if he got another year or not. So when you look at it, we know Shiloh is going to be gone. We know Simon Craig is going to be gone out of secondary. But you Stockmeyer, young guy, he was a freshman, a true freshman last year, who's also going to be part of the secondary. I know Herman Smith, he's around their age as well, so he's probably done. And then you also have some young guys come in, like the R.J. Johnson, which we know is freshman. And what was my other guy? Riley. Young guys in the secondary. We know that not Brandon Hood, we know that Colton Hood is young. He only has 1 year in college. And we know that McKinney was like a red shirt freshman. So he got at least a couple more years. So when we look at the corners that we brought in, the Lopez, I also mentioned, we brought him in. Boozy, who's looking pretty good, we brought him in. We brought in some young cornerbacks for this round, and of course you're adding more, right? You got some stout cornerbacks and DBs who coming in the 2025 class. That's going to be icing on the cake because of what you already have in place. Then you look at the type of guys who's signing for that 2025 class, who's probably going to be one of the strongest high school classes probably ever. I know, especially with Juju and all that, even though they're trying to lower his rankings to make that look like nothing. But we seen the Farrakhan come in last week. We see a lot of nice top linemen come in. So I expect to see some more top D linemen come in as the year goes on. So Colorado doing well this season is going to make a big impact on them kind of finishing off the recruiting of this 25 class between now and their signing day, maybe flipping some people and starting to get the eyeball of some 2026. So they're building for the future. See, a lot of people don't see the future side of Colorado. They still talking about the past. They still talking about the past. Their coaches are young. Their coaches are inexperienced. They got a chance to stay and develop themselves. These not one and out guys. Maybe Pat Shermer, maybe. But you looking at the fact, you just brought in a defense coordinator who's new to college football. He got a couple years in him to solidify himself. You know, you got the people like Warren Sapp getting their feet wet. You gave Coach Lewis an opportunity to be, you know, Sal is gone, and you bring in another defensive line coach to get his chance. A lot of guys are here to build their resume, their reputation. They're here to build that out, and they're gonna have an opportunity to do it with a young group who they're gonna be able to coach for a few years. They're not going to have to deal with, you be gone 6 months, I got to start over. You be gone 6 months, a year, got to start over. All these guys going to have the ability to build up relationships and build on top of the momentum year after year. That's what made this year critical, because it sets the tone for the young guys who's going to be here next year or two and who's going to be the future leaders. So the only thing they're really missing right now is who's going to be their quarterback. Who's going to be their quarterback? You know, somebody about Davis Thomas. And I wonder how many years Tafik has. Like I said, what's going to determine what happens going forward is the foundation that's set right now. Them winning this year is critical for the future. If they don't really have, you talking about Thomas, who is analyst? Yeah, he's getting his foot wet as well. I saw when they rolled him in. So, and who knows who else to come? He's giving a lot of people opportunity to get into this space who wouldn't have got in here. They wouldn't have had the door because they didn't have a relationship. And a lot of guys who played in the NFL, they typically don't get into the college people because the college people are jealous. You know, like, hey, you know, you stay on your lane, I stay in mine. If you want to get in, go in through the NFL. Don't come into this college thing because they know your experience, your relationships rival them. And like I said, that's the issue with Coach Prime. He's bringing in guys who have experience, and he's giving them the credibility by putting them on the staff where he can release them out into college football world and be a problem. They're the future head coaches of programs who say, oh, Colorado took off. You were part of that staff because you bring that over here. They get to see what they're able to do by being a part of Colorado's staff. So Colorado's success is pivotal. That's a fact. It is pivotal to what they can do going forward. Upgraded to coach. I mean, I think regardless of their title, I think everybody can coach. You know, even though you're an analyst, you still can coach. That's what the new rule is. But he's still an analyst, but he's still a coach. So, however they choose to use that, Coach Prime choose to use that. That's great. I really think that it's good that Coach Hart have somebody on help him on. I mean, you got Sapp and Lewis working together. So I think Coach Hart definitely can benefit from an NFL linebacker contributing and going hand in hand with those guys at the linebacker. Matter of fact, I know Coach Prime considered that when he brought him in. You know, he can bring some contribution to that. The same way you see what you have Coach what is his name? Oh, he don't slip my mind. Is it Singleton? Oh, my D coordinator don't slip my mind. You have Coach Mathis already back there, right? Who's been holding it down, you know. and then you have why he slipping my mind. Roberson. I don't have a doggone brain fart. But when you have those two working together, now I think that last year, Coach Charles Kelly, um, I don't know how well they worked together because it seemed like it was no chemistry, or it wasn't synchronizing well between the secondary. For to have two experienced guys in the secondary. We can talk about the play calling all day, but just the secondary in itself, it was chaotic. Like they didn't know the coverages was busting all over the place. Like it could have been a lot worse with some of the games. Yeah, Livingston, and it's like at the end of the day, if they don't coordinate well, that's what we're gonna run into. So it's great to have a Coach Livingston and Mathis back down at secondary together. You still got Coach Prime, but the better they work together, the more they're on the same page, the better we can deal with. I just don't get it, man. It was horrible. All the busted coverages last year, it was horrible. It was unreal. And we seen it on special teams. We seen it on the linebacker play. I don't know how else you can put it, but on the coordinator. I don't know. We kept saying it. He left. He had another year. He needed another year. But it's like, man, it's bigger than just what he needed another year. None of the units played together well. Whether they played together well within their unit or with other units. The secondary didn't play well together, and they didn't collaborate well with the linebackers. The linebackers didn't collaborate well together. They run in the same hole, and they didn't collaborate well with the defensive line. The units did not play as a unit. So we had a lot of busted plays at all the wrong times, busted coverages. And I just couldn't help but to see it's the coordination. You see, offensive, defensive coordinator, you're coordinating it all, making sure everybody's on the same page. There was something wrong with that coordination. Everybody was all over the place. So it's my hope that with Coach Livingston and what he can do with Mathis in the secondary, as well as how the other units play together, I feel like they're playing together better. But we haven't seen them play together as a unit. We see the D line kind of play 101s. We haven't seen much with the D line and the linebackers and how they fit together. And we haven't seen much like far as maybe 7-on-7, maybe it's some. We just ain't seen how the linebackers fit with the DBs when it comes to coverages in the 7-on-7. Because the linebackers last year, they don't know what they was on. I mean, when you talk about all those drags and quick slants, there was no help at all to the cornerbacks. The cornerbacks had a hard time because they had no underneath help. They had no underneath help. And that goes back to me saying that just the units didn't play well together. You can't afford that when they throwing the ball more with lack of unity and chemistry in the defense running the ball than you could throwing the ball. I think I think a good quarterback and coordinator will expose all the holes with that passing game. So that's why I was saying, if you look at what I've been saying all week and really been saying, I find it very hard in this conference for you to say that a lot of teams are going to give Colorado a problem. Unless you're telling me that they're just some little weak little whatever you saw last year, and you just gonna run all over them. Now, even though Pac-12 was a passing conference, because you flip that on me, to try to, I didn't really see nobody really just take advantage of them running the ball. Now, be mindful, they couldn't close out certain games and stuff like that. They couldn't plug it up. But at times they did. And they may let them drive all the way down the field and they hold them to a field goal. You said they should have stopped them and got them off the field. But teams wasn't really scoring a lot of touchdowns running the ball. If you want to say that, prove it. Prove to me a game where a team scored 3, 4, 5 touchdowns on the ground. It was the doggone pass. Oregon beat them with the pass. Now, Oregon may have had a few touchdowns on the ground. They had a lot of everything. But they beat you with the pass. USC beat them with the pass. Stanford came back from pretty much a 30-point deficit in one half. They beat them with the pass. We know Arizona was passing. They didn't have no strong running game. We know that Oregon State was passing. They don't really have a strong run. They had some running, but they wasn't scoring with the running game. We know UCLA was passing. We know because how many times Charlo in the secondary was knocking their head off. UCLA really didn't do nothing. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter after they kicked Charlo out the game and disraveled the defense. They wasn't really scoring. The only reason that game was close, and we can have a review if you want. The only reason that game was close is because all the turnovers Colorado got, they were only getting field goals. They kicked 3 field goals that game. It's a difference between 9 and 21. It's a significant difference, especially when you lose by 14. When you lose by 10, they end up losing by 10. An extra field goal on top of a touchdown because they kicked the field goal at the end to solidify the game. So when you look at it, if Colorado had maybe scored one more touchdown, they kept kicking field goals. They got 2 major turnovers in the first quarter. They was up 6-0. They could have went into halftime 6-0. They went foolish, punted the ball on the goal line pretty much. The guy got a good return with less than a minute left in the half. And then they let them score right before halftime. And they still at halftime was only losing 6-7. But they could have easily been, if they were scoring, they could have went in either 14-0 or 14-7 if they was not kicking field goals because the offense was toast at that point. Shedeur was hurt. And I believe that's the game where he definitely was hurt officially. He was already had knee and ankle and stuff. But I think when they was letting him get hit in the back, y'all seen my stuff. You like to subscribe, you see my stuff, and we've talked about that. That's what I do. I kind of get in there, and I feel that they threw the ball a lot. They didn't have no bona fide running game. I think when they beat Utah, that was the fourth screen. Colorado had 3 touchdowns taken off the board and lost by what? 1 touchdown. So, you got to look at the dynamics of that game. Colorado defense played decent that game. They kind of slowed down the run game and this and that and that, and they lost by, I think Utah scored somewhere in the 20s. They scored a few touchdowns, but Colorado had a few touchdowns taken back. And this is without their starting quarterback. Whatever Utah can say. They Shedeur didn't play, Weaver didn't play. The line was already busted up and injured and no depth. So, it is what it is. But the defense did decent compared to what they was doing. They didn't give up a lot of touchdowns. Utah was running the ball a lot. And yet, it wasn't their run game that beat Colorado. It wasn't like, they just running all over Colorado and they scored 4 touchdowns. So, like what they were saying, defense is going to be key. It's going to be key. And from what I'm seeing, because we know what Shedeur going to do. Shedeur going to score. But we done with the hard palpitations of the shootouts every game, and Shedeur got to go Brady mode every game. Like, that gets old. Like, everybody you play, you go Brady mode. You go Brady mode against TCU. Nebraska went on Brady mode. They talk real big. They the only one that got blew out, right? Then you look at Colorado State. He had to go Brady mode with Colorado State. Nobody expected that, right? But he had to score, and they scored. He had to score, and they scored. And they were running drag routes. They was running. They wasn't running the ball. They was running drag routes. Every time we score, they come back, drag all the way across the field. That's when Trevor Woods was still at safety. They just running all across the middle of the field. And they had some decent receivers. They had a couple guys who we felt can go pro. I know one in particular, he was just tough. And one of them supposed to be returning, I believe. He was all right. So Colorado defense is the glue to this whole theory of mines and others. But I don't see why it's hard to see that Colorado is going to be probably one of the I don't do the probably thing. I just go ahead and say it. Colorado will be a top defense, if not the top defense in this conference. I don't see how and why not. With the number of solidified pass rushers that they have. We know the secondary still had them ball hawks there. We understand that Shiloh's still there, Simon Craig, they're a ball hawks. Trav Hunter's still a ball hawk. We still trying to figure out who's going to be on the other side. But we know they long. We know McKinney long, and we know Hood, and we know Hood can play. And we still got Hodge in the slot. He's another ball. So having another ball hawk in that, top cornerback, top DB in the portal, I don't see how you really feel like you're not going to throw the ball on them, but you have to, because the way our defensive line is built and our linebacker core is built, their strength is the run. Their strength is the run, and you're not a passing conference like that. I mean, we look at Chainsaw, his strength is the run. When you look at Hill Green, his strength is the run. They can play out in an open field, but their strength is the run. Even when you look at Webster, strength is the run. I think you look at our linebackers from last year, they was definitely one worse than that in the past. Bentley, Woods, they were better with the run, especially in the back part of the season. So I don't see how you don't see this defense being successful in a conference that is letting you know we plan on running the ball. I don't see how you put them 11th. You have no logic to tell me that they're going to outscore Colorado by running the ball. They're going to keep Shador on the sideline. It's not logical, because that would be the assumption that our defense is not going to stop your offense and your offense is going to stop our defense. And I don't know where you would get that assumption from. We have massive run stoppers in the middle of the field, so your middle is not going to be an option. So that takes a lot of pressure off a linebacker who have to cover everybody's back. When you look at the fact that Colorado has brought in, I'm gonna say 2, but it's really 3 to 4 who you ain't seen yet, that you don't know what they're gonna do when it comes to clogging that middle. We know that Shadoze can clog that middle, and we know Barnes is gonna clog that middle. We just know that their size, their strength. We know that they're gonna be not necessarily the biggest threat when they come to the pass rush, but they definitely gonna cause a clog and even penetration inside of that, those A and B gaps. Right here in the middle, you basically limited to running off of the tackle. You said SEC? Yeah. I mean, they have the size of how you doing, Miss Shirley? They have a size ability this year. They got the size from the SECs and the bigger quality ACC schools. That's the kind of lineman they brought in, and that's exactly what they wanted to do. So I'm thinking they definitely should be able to compete against those schools, because that's the caliber of talent that they have. They're not undersized like they some kind of FCS school trying to go up against Power 5. They didn't use the FCS to fill their roster this year. Right. And the FCS schools that they did keep, the players they did keep, they proved themselves last year, aka the top quarterback and the top receiver and the top DB in the country. They came from FCS schools. So the FCS kids we did keep, they are elite, proven. Right. But our linemen are not FCS. Our linemen we got a lineman from Texas, Clemson, Indiana, Houston. We got linemen from all the Power 4, really, on both sides of the ball. Power 5, or whatever you want to call it, Power 4 now. So when you look at what Colorado has, they should have more respect as far as competition. But yet you're talking about them as if they still got them little Kent State linemen from last year and Kent State coach. At the end of the day, when we make these predictions, we like a lot of people been making predictions. I kind of threw some stuff out there from like January, just how I felt. This before we got a lot of the guys we have now. And I was saying things like 10-2. And it's like, oh, and some people said, and then they kind of changed it once they seen more. Some people, a lot of people gonna wait till the season start and change what they feel can happen. I mean, that's just what they're gonna do. But let's be realistic, y'all. Let's be realistic. Like without the politics and the hype, is it really 10 teams better than Colorado in the Big 12? I don't even think, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't even think it's 10 teams in the SEC that's better than Colorado. 10? That's how extreme it is. That's how me using that example is how extreme it is. I don't think it's no conference where it's 10 teams that's better than Colorado. Even if you went into the SEC, you say, oh, well, Texas, all that. You say Georgia, all that. Alabama, all that. Ole Miss, all that. That's 4 teams. They not stocked up. Oklahoma, all that. That's 5. You say, okay, Auburn, that's 6. LSU, that's 7. Now you starting to go down iffy lane. But that's 7 teams I just named from considered the top conference. How are you so comfortable to put 10 from a conference they barely want to respect? They barely want to even acknowledge the Big 12. They starting to treat them like the old Pac-12. They starting to treat you like the ACC, who's falling apart. 10 teams. It's misleading. It's disingenuous. They have the chance to beat anybody, but beyond just the chance to beat anybody, logically, you can't sit here and tell me 10 teams from any conference should beat them just off the rip. They at the bottom. Like, I can see why you treat Cincinnati like that and Baylor like that. I mean, what do they have? RG3 not there. Imagine RG3 was there and they placed Baylor 10th in the conference. So what are you really saying? Are you disrespecting Shador? I mean, what are you really saying? What are you really saying? We at the point now where it's just how many weeks? We know we about a couple weeks from camp, and once August hit, it's a wrap. Everything fast forward. Life moving so fast, we don't have to speed up nothing. We don't have to speed up nothing at this point. But time is only going to be able to tell. I don't think there's nothing I could say. I don't think it's no amount of videos at this point I can say. I do what I do because on one end, I'm speaking to people who, we like-minded. We support Colorado. We've been supporting Colorado, and we kind of have a chance to talk through what we see from week to week. That's what this is all about. You ain't here to prove nothing to nobody. You can't prove something to somebody who don't want to believe it anyway. Anything you throw at somebody who don't want to believe it, they gonna push. They gonna move the goalposts. They gonna try to poke every hole in it. And y'all get me to some inspiration, motivation. Maybe I'll come back later. You can't convince a person who don't want to be convinced. It takes a miracle, and even if a miracle happened, they're gonna write it off. That they couldn't have been, because they don't want to believe it. You can't make them believe it. Colorado, when we talk about it, we're not trying to convince nobody who come in here with their nonsense. They bored or whatever. They don't have a life or whatever. Because at the end of the day, no matter what either side say, Colorado has to go and do what they're capable of doing. We're not asking them to do what they're not capable of doing. Just do what you're capable of doing. And we know you can win this conference. We know that. If we really look at matchups, for example, you got Colorado at the back 3rd, 4th for the conference. The only people you really got them above is like the Cincinnatis, the Baylors. I don't even know if BYU. I think BYU may be behind you. You got them at the back of the conference. And those very same teams, who they quarterback? You're not going to disrespect nobody that has your number 1 quarterback in your conference, and you put them in the bottom 4, 5 of your conference as a team. Then you look on the other side, you got your number 1 DB. You got an edge rusher, first conference. Then you got a slew of other guys on second, third, fourth, whatever. And yet you still don't respect them enough to say they at least in the top 5 in your conference. In your conference, you just lost 2 of your biggest guys. You just lost 2 of your biggest guys who've been running your conference for forever. And then you're gonna turn around and put Colorado as 10th. This is your brand. This is your hope to even be relevant. You might as well be Mountain West without Colorado. There's no who else got a name? You got rid of Texas, Oklahoma, Texas left you. They felt like you weren't in on nothing. Who else you got that's really gonna compete on a national level? Oklahoma State. When has Oklahoma State ever been a top 10 team? Kansas State every now and then be some of these, but they decent schools. You be glad that they crack top 20. Just from a historical standpoint, they're not a powerhouse. They they do something decent every now and then, but they're not a powerhouse that anybody really worried about ever in their conference or out the conference. They put some players through that. Oklahoma State. I think you had the Bears. You had some guys come through there. But as a program, as far as winning championships, nobody checking on them. Nobody checking on them. Who? Kansas? Like you said, it's a basketball conference. Kansas, but basketball, stuff like that. Football? What are we looking at? Let's be real, y'all. I'm trying to see, how do you even come to that conclusion that Colorado is not better than at least half of the guys there? You already acknowledged that if they got the players, not even including the players you didn't acknowledge. Who gonna see about? You're not gonna sit here and tell me these teams which don't have no reputation in the All-American. You talk about All-American voting, or even in the conference voting, it doesn't line up. I just don't see you being the 11th best team with the number 1 quarterback in the conference, in the number 1 receiving DB, in the number 1 edge rusher. How do you have the audacity to disrespect them like that? It's only gonna benefit you as Colorado do good, or you just gonna be irrelevant. Nobody else ain't gonna make no noise. I'm telling you. See, last year Colorado was in a conference where Colorado didn't have to be the man, because they had Washington, who, you see what they did. Nobody really paid attention to them. They snuck up. Penix was, he showed out. But Oregon always been Oregon from a brand standpoint. I mean, like, nobody was scared of Oregon, but they say, see me in the championship, I'll beat you to sleep, Oregon. We've done it before, but they are a brand for your conference. I don't know how Pac-12 lose all this stuff. They dumb as a rock, because you had football brands, right? So you got to think about it. They had USC. Caleb Williams was there. Bo Nix, decent name at Oregon. Penix built a name at Washington in a short time. You had Shador in Colorado, which was hot and going, right? Then other guys kind of stepped up. Arizona made a little noise. Ward did a little bit. Hit the record didn't show for, but he did decent at quarterback, at least in the beginning. You had all of this going on in one conference. Colorado didn't have to carry you, but they helped bring a lot of attention to your conference. What can Big 12 say? Outside of Colorado, who do they got? Name-wise, as far as individuals and teams that can make noise. Is it going to be Oklahoma State? They hoping Utah be it. They had come from another conference. They hope Utah be it. I don't respect Utah like that. I don't. They going to lie. If you watch it, baby. Yeah, I feel like he's going to have to get off that real soon anyway, because I seen he was on there like 5-6 hours the other day. So, they on break. They on break. He ain't going to be able to do all that when season start. But, yeah, man, you're right. The language and the brand, your brand is that, I say, Travis, if you hear this, you can never get too comfortable, because I kind of feel like with Travis, he ain't really caught the full sting of being with Coach Prime. Like he had the whole juju treatment when he went to Jackson State, and they took, tried to move his ranking around. Not by much. They couldn't. He was number one and number two all of a sudden, right? And then when he came over to Colorado, they underestimated. They taught they this, but he quickly showed them in TCU. He's a show me guy. But Travis, don't ever think that they won't come at you like they coming at your boys. Don't ever think. Right now they like, why Shador can't be more like Travis? Don't ever think these same people ain't capable of trying to assassinate your character and lowering you like they did Shador. That right now they doing it to Shador and Coach Prime's sons and Coach Prime. It don't seem like they seem like they love Travis. It seems like everything. Travis, don't underestimate these people. Don't get too comfortable. Stay professional. Stay out the way. Because you is not that far out the scope from what they already shooting at. It don't take much for them to flip on you. I hope they don't get too comfortable. You're right. Don't get too comfortable. You see about the NFL people, it's about what type of people you're dealing with. They make up false stories. They make up false media. They make up all this type of stuff. Questionable, over exaggerated stuff about you, your coach, your teammates. Don't ever think that they won't take something small you do on the internet. You get too comfortable, and man, they'll run it. And everybody gonna hear it because they like everything else they hear about Colorado. And don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. Somebody get that message to them. Don't get comfortable. You're on the game cover. Just know as high as you go up, and the far you fall, and the farther they want to see you fall. Don't play with these folks. The devils. they show you their intent. Just because they ain't mess with you yet, that don't mean they won't. Right. Georgia is not a conference, though. Georgia is SEC. So I already compared who SEC, and I called Georgia name. And I said, even if you had 6, 7 teams that you would say better than Colorado, they still would be higher ranked in the SEC than where. That's the point. The Big 12 is currently comparing them to. If they was in the SEC, you wouldn't be able to name 10 teams better than them. Even if you name all your big favorite teams, it'd be 7 of them, 8 of them, but it wouldn't be 10. So that was the point, right? But how many players have they got out of Georgia that Georgia wanted? You got like the people at Colorado's that Georgia won recruiting. Did not Georgia want Travis Hunter really, really bad? Did not Shador go on a visit to Georgia back in the day? Did not Shiloh possibly recruited? I know they both recruited by Georgia because Shiloh went to South Carolina. Did not we just take one of Georgia's preferred walk-on running backs and Brandon Hood? Did not Colton Hood go to Auburn? You don't think Georgia wanted him? He went to Auburn, which was SEC. Did not Flapjack, who went to school all these boys while Georgia recruited him, who went to Clemson, did not he could have went to Georgia? Just because he went to Clemson don't mean nothing. Kirkland, who went to Texas, did Georgia not recruit him? These are young guys. A lot of these guys was recruited by Georgia, so they could have played at Georgia. You got like Georgia, only certain people could play at Georgia. Your school you choose at the end of the day. You think that these linemen we recruited Georgia? We seen it when they was transferring. Who was recruiting them? And just because they chose to call them Colorado, that don't mean they wasn't capable of quality enough to play at Georgia. And if they was able to play at Georgia, they're able to play against them. Or else Georgia wouldn't have recruited them. Georgia don't recruit people who are not capable of playing for their school. So if you're got a bunch of guys who was capable of playing at Georgia, surely they can play against them. Come on now, we're talking real football at this point. We put Georgia way up. You know how many players we recruited out of Georgia? I'm in Georgia. Michael Welch is out of Georgia. Both of the Hoods out of Georgia. Like both of those linemen. R.J. Johnson went to Arkansas out of Georgia. We just got a 2025 linebacker, Montez Walker, who Georgia won. He said he want to come to Colorado. We got a lot of guys who Georgia wanted who's now coming to Colorado. Did you think that Georgia didn't want Juju? Auburn did. It's real quiet. High odds against Colorado means more money. Hey man, people can play with their money they want. They can play with it. They can play with the money. But we know they'll change a bet an hour before the game, a day before the game. We know that too. Who cares? All them people talk that stuff about. We didn't think Nebraska gonna win. You a lie. You thought Nebraska was gonna win all the way up to the week of the game. That's when the betting odds changed. There's no way nobody expecting Nebraska to lose to Colorado this time last year. People so full of nonsense. You be real. Quit lying. Quit moving the goalposts. Y'all didn't believe they can beat Nebraska until the odds was for Colorado by 3. It wasn't in July. It wasn't in July. It was nowhere near that in July. They expected TCU to beat them by 21. So after they beat TCU, the odds changed. The odds changed after that. So these betting odds are gonna change as the season go on. I would love for somebody to document it, how they change. Because they're gonna lose. As Colorado go to whooping on folks, you're gonna see some stuff switching around. Yeah, they get on you. Yeah. I mean, the earlier the better. The earlier the better. Jen and J. The Jen and J is the Tangler Box queen. She's a spokesperson. You got your Tangler Box, Jen and J? Jen and J? Yes, sir. We're going to do a commercial for Jen and J. Agreed. Just glad, have to play down people at like Big 12 teams or like the SEC. You go to playoff, you're going to have to play somebody from the SEC. So the way they talking, people swear they're going to put about 4, 5, 6 teams in there. So you're going to play one of them if you go to playoff. Somebody from the Big 12 going to play them. Like they said, if you're going to play against them, you got to beat them in the trenches. We can say that all day, but look who was in the championship last year? Washington. There was no SEC team in the championship last year. They didn't dominate last year. Alabama got knocked out. Georgia got knocked out before that. Right? Maybe we say they made the playoff, it would have been different. But based off the playoff last year, SEC wasn't as dominant as normal. So we can act like they can't be beat. But every now and then, you get a Michigan and somebody to come and win it. SEC power is shrinking, guys. They're shrinking. One, because they're going to beat each other because the conference is getting too big. So even if you make it, like you see with Georgia, they turned around and lost to Alabama at the end. Alabama wasn't even the best team, but they snuck them because it's a long season and they beating each other up. Now you look at recruiting, social media. A lot of guys, like I said, who would normally grew up and went to Georgia back in the day, now they going to places like Colorado, Syracuse. The talent is evening out. The transfer portal. They could be at Georgia and will go somewhere else. Versus, back in the day, you went somewhere, you stayed there. You really couldn't move around like that. You had to go down a level or you had to miss a year. So the movement wasn't like that. When these teams were dominating, the transfer portal worked a little different. And you notice as the transfer portal changed, new opportunities show up, a.k.a. Washington State. Not Washington State, Washington. Washington jumped up really quick over the last few years over the transfer portal. Then you see them same guys run behind their coach down to Alabama this year. So that portal, it can allow a mass shift from one conference and one team having a lot of power to not. So your comparison of the old is not that strong because the conference's power struggles are different now. It's a bigger challenge to kind of build a powerhouse like that. Yeah, you better get them early. Yes, sir. So when you look at, social media, the portal, new generation of kids and how they think, all these different things play a role in the stability of a program to be like, Georgia go win 10 national championships in a row, like Alabama did. That was the end of that. And then Georgia ran it for a few years, then boom. They didn't make these long runs with the way they open this portal up now, and your ability to connect with players easier through social media, it's gonna make it hard for one particular program. And let me tell you why. Because the days of 5 stars sitting on the bench for 5 years to wait till their 10th year to play is over with, because the portal. They'll mess around and sit there for a year and look over there and say, I can play over there. It's visible. It's visible. They can see they can play over there. They can be communicated with through Twitter. You ain't got to send tapes no more, and mail it. And I hope they get it. You can go direct to the source. Coaches on Twitter. Players on Twitter. You can go straight to the source and be like, hey, you was the man in high school. We went to school together. Come over here and play with me. That player might would have been that dude at Georgia the next year or two. But he leave after that 1 year and go be the man at that school. It spreads out the talent. Where they used to be able to stockhold the talent. Everybody know what Georgia produced now. Georgia, the state. Everybody talking about Florida. Now they saying Georgia. Georgia has put more players in the pro. We got Texas, Georgia, Florida, and he had California back in the day. So when you look at, hey, these people feel like, I ain't got to sit on no bench. I'm looking at my boy over there on social media. He said, come on over here. So that program that may win a national championship a year or two, they ain't finna win it no 4 years in a row, because it's gonna be a stability in their crop, because every time they build it, somebody gonna pull some. Colorado has that same risk. That's why Colorado has to be unique, because they're in a position now where they got a lot of young players. And we seen a guy come in January and left after spring. We seen freshmen who, like Hopkins, who good talent, who left after 1 year. They changed position, stuff like that. I'm saying they left after 1 year. He didn't get a chance to develop. Yeah, he was the future, but he wasn't now. What he's at receiver DB, he felt he'd go elsewhere. You're not doing that 10 years ago. But people know. They know they can play, and they know where they can play, and they make a move in a matter of weeks, days. Technology makes it possible. My thing is, he said, be careful of tampering. Be careful of tampering. Like, I don't even know what that is no more, because then they can sit the players on you. They ain't make no room for the players not to recruit. See, the players can go straight to the players. They ain't even got to go through the coaches. Hey, I'm just talking to my homeboy. Hey, we got some money over here for you. Hey, we got this position over here for you. That's tampering, but the coach ain't got to say it. He can talk to the player, and it's trackable unless they gonna do something about that. And I don't know how you can do that. Hey, we went to college together. We played 7-on-7 together. You gonna tell me I can't talk to my boy? That's where we at, man. When I think about, what do you think we're gonna get Juju? Likely. They ain't shooting at him for nothing. They ain't shooting at him for him to go to Auburn unless he say, all right, I give Uncle, tap out. They're not shooting at him to get him to go to Auburn. They shooting at him to make him surrender. It depends on what kind of dude he is, and what kind of family he have. They say, okay, you're gonna shoot at me, I'm gonna show you now. I'm gonna do exactly what you don't want. Or they'll say, all right, we give up. And I don't know how you happen in that situation, because people, they shouldn't be able to manipulate you like that. Yeah, his model, his approach, Nick Saban's model approach is done. I'm gonna stock up and take all the recruits from everybody else, and then I'm gonna release them like ravaged beasts for 1 year or 2 years. They go to the pro, and they happy to be a part of Alabama. because we won a national championship. They got a ring, but they've been on the bench for 3 years. But I'm just doing that because I'm stockholding all the talent. Because that talent could be somewhere else, and I have to play against it. It's almost like buying somebody off so they won't go somewhere else to compete against you. You know how people do that. I heard they do that with recruiting. We just don't want you to go to Coach Prime. We'll pay you to sit you on the bench just so he can't get you. That's what it looked like. It looked like I'm gonna take all the talent in the South, 4 levels deep, 5 stars, till they look like scrubs. But how I'm really winning is not who I got on the field. How I'm winning is who I got on the bench, who could be playing for the other team. I got more talent on the bench than on the field. And when the transfer portal wasn't as friendly, the guys weren't able to move around like that as easy. They couldn't play at the same level, and they didn't want to go play at Jackson State somewhere at a lower level. You had to go down a level, what they call Division I AA back in the day. These are my FCS now. Division I AA, you had to go down to play, whether you got in trouble or whether you just wanted to play. So you say, well, if I'm just going, I might as well get this degree or be at this school. At least I get a ring. I don't want to play that bad to just go and sit on no bench. I mean, to go play at a lower level program with lower level facilities. You know, my pride ain't for that. I just stay here and weather it out. That's what they got. You know, if he wasn't coming, Coach Prime would have moved on by now. Yeah. I mean, he's quiet for a reason. They already sent some up. See, Farrakhan, y'all, it's my Farrakhan. Farrakhan when it came, if Juju wasn't coming. See, it's too close to Farrakhan. Farrakhan made his decision just a week ago. If he wasn't communicating with Juju, because Farrakhan ain't committing without knowing. He already said it. I'm not committing without knowing who the quarterback is. So the fact he committed, he know who the quarterback is, and the fact that they came on a trip together and they close and stuff like that, the players already know Juju coming. Or else you looking at their activity. Don't look at Coach Prime. Look at the player activity. And they just put Juju in a place to come with a vengeance. He gonna come with a vengeance because now he got to earn his respect. Y'all disrespecting him by taking his stars, and then y'all turn around and moving him down. He got to go to Colorado at this point because that's how they treat Colorado, and that's how you know he going to Colorado because they treat him like Colorado. They not treat him like he going to Auburn. They don't want to shortchange Auburn of a 5-star to help them get in the top 10 with their rankings. They're not gonna do that to USC or Auburn because those rankings impact how the team gonna be ranked based off of the class you brought in. So who else they want to shoot? They don't want to shoot Auburn. They don't want to shoot USC. So they shoot Coach Prime. When he come to you, it ain't gonna count worth that. We made him the 30th QB, and we made him a 2-star. So whatever. Now you get him. Now it ain't no value to you. You gonna get him. We're gonna make sure it come at no value. Yeah, that's the oldest trick in the book. Stop piling talent, so I won't have to play against him. Yeah, I hope Amos gonna sit on the bench. I mean, I know he's gonna get some carries, but he wouldn't be like he was at all. Like he was here. If he was at Colorado, then he would be the guy. He would have been the guy. Yeah, we wouldn't have went and got Augusta. We would have had him, Hayes, and Welch. So he opened it up for Augusta. What's good on Big Worm? Yeah, we about to end this thing. Has cash. Yeah, they got that unlimited money up there. Yeah, man. I'm gonna take your player because I can afford it. And he ain't finna play. He ain't finna play. He ain't finna play. But I don't want to play against him. Like I know he's not finna play here. But I gotta make sure Coach Prime don't get him. I know he's not gonna play here till at least 3 years. Like you'll get a apartment. You on the waiting list. 3 years. They know you on the waiting list. Instead of telling you, they think about themselves. Here, get on the waiting list and say, hey man, go ahead and find another place. I gotta make sure I'm good. I got a 200 people waiting list for 3 apartment units. You know they ain't finna get in, but you selfish. At the end of the day, Colorado, when Juju come, that'll be a sign, that they built for the future. and it's gonna be a whole wave of people come right behind him. And I wouldn't be surprised. It should happen before this month is out, because it's been delayed long enough. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this week. And I just can't see him looking at his character and his family and the way his dad was talking. If he was, they you know how people do, like, you ever watch Shark Tank where they say, if you let me talk to somebody else, I'm out. You know what they say? What you think? I take my deal back. And you would lose, and you would do this, and then they go talking like Kevin, what's his name? Kevin O'Neill, O'Reilly, whatever, on Shark Tank. They get mad when you talk to somebody else, and they're gonna shoot you while they're gonna talk all kinds of crap to you because you dare then take their deal. And my deal is final deal right now. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave. You talk to somebody else, I'm putting my deal. That's how they did. So they already showing you, I'm gonna take my deal back from him and kick you in the butt on the way out. Matter of fact, crash all the on 3 people. We know all them on 3 people had connections with Auburn. So all of a sudden, on 3 turned. That was a big sign to me. Like, on 3 got a lot of connection with Auburn. He clearly ain't going there. But they wouldn't do that to him if he was going to USC either. People say that only happened for SEC. Or no, certain Power 5 schools, they're not doing that too, because they all in the same clique. It's just rule of engagement. You're not going to clip up Coach Prime. I mean, not going to clip up USC, and you're not going to clip up Auburn. So the fact they did that to him, they basically telling him, all right, we know where you're going. We're going to give you a nice farewell gift, a foot in your behind. We don't want you anyway. Before he even said it, because they already know we don't want you to talk to Coach Prime. You talk to him, we taking our deal back. Because they about to know if you talk to Coach Prime, it's a wrap. So that's my feelings on Juju. You know, well, like I said, it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit before this month is out. He's not gonna do it in August. That's why I say it got to be coming up this week. And they only heat up on a person when they know it's something close coming, like a devil. They know Juju coming, so they all this crazy activity and people making comments and all that. They know. They know, and they scared that man go there and stay there. He already working with Daryl. He go down and develop with those young players. And like I said, the rise of Colorado's here. They just solidified because this class gonna run behind them. The next year class gonna run. They're gonna run to him like they run to Shador for the next few classes. Everybody gonna want to come and play with this dude. That's why now you see why they had to take his stars, because they had to take away his attraction or his lure of other players. Oh, he's not that great anyway. He's the 14th quarterback. He's no longer the top quarterback. They think that's gonna help, but it's gonna backfire. These kids gonna rebel. It's gonna rebel. These kids gonna rebel. After they did that to Juju, who said they won't do it to you? We're talking about the rise of Colorado, y'all. I appreciate y'all time. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll be talking to y'all soon. And now for our favorite sponsor of the day, Miss Jen's favorite sponsor, Jenny J. Y'all have a good one.